This is the Ikegami TM10-17RPA Pro or broadcast monitor. It's 10 inches in size and it weighs 10 kilos. So it is a very small CRT monitor. It uses a curved screen of 450 lines, which is quite high for the size of the tube. That would be comparable to Sony's HR Trinitron based tubed CRTs. Same resolution. It has a 0.28mm dot pitch. And now I will show you up close the controls on the front. Again, it's very similar to the little 9-inch PVMs you see around with the buttons on the bottom. There's your power on and off switch there, the first one on the left. The gauze color adjustments where you use a screwdriver to poke inside and adjust. And then there's some more controls. Underscan, widescreen, blue only, input selection, sync on or off, or external I should say, or internal. And then there's 4 knobs here, starting on the left, chroma, which is color, adjusts your color when you're running composite or S-video. Then you got brightness, then you have contrast, and then finally you have the volume knob. It's a mono based CRT, as in the sound, one channel, one speaker. These knobs are similar to knobs on old BVMs where you could adjust, of course, the values you want, but you can also press it in to just go to a default setting that the monitor uses, but I prefer the custom settings. There's a tally lamp on top, Ikegami badge there on the front. The game running is Point Blank on PlayStation 1. I actually picked up that Guncom at a garage sale. Finally got Guncom 1 and got it with its little pass-through connector. If you know anything about the Guncom 1 and 2, they have quite a sort of tricky setup with extra bits and pieces usually required, but they're often missing at garage sales, those sort of things, so I'm pretty happy about that. It's a metal case affair, vent holes on top, vent holes on the sides, just there at the top, carry handle, and here on the back we have all the connections, of course. There's the model number on the back. It's actually slightly different. It has a P between the R and the A. On the front that P's missing. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know why that is. There's your connector for a remote, and there's the remote's pin out. Your power in is an IEC based socket, 200 to 240 volts in. I think you can change it inside to accept 100 volts, but it's one or the other. It's not a multi-volty universal. Over here you have inputs in the BNC form, composite video in and out, channel A, composite video in and out, channel B. Then you have an S-video socket there labelled YC. Then you have your red, green and your blue, which are all plugged in. That's for your component or RGB. And then there's the sync in and out, and an audio in, just mono again. There's a little switch there to select from RGB or component. I'm yet to try out component on the monitor. I'll do that with the PS2 soon. Now there's what would be a place for a socket to have a power, like portably, 12 volt power supply, but it's surprisingly not there. Another area that could take an SDI card, because it does have a number of expansion cards available for it, or modules. And then there's another, hang on, sorry, over there, serial remote. So some expandability is possible. Alright, we'll have a look inside. We can see inside that this monitor has a Panasonic tube in it. It's 22 centimeters in size, monitor grade, designated by the M. There's a letter A there that I don't know what that represents. Perhaps it's the grade quality of the tube. It is 450 lines, so it is a top class tube. There's the flyback sticking upwards. That's easy to get to, easy to adjust, at least. I'm not sure about the changeover to 100 volts. I don't see anything that's easily changeable there, so maybe you have to take the board out to change the setting, change the plug or change the jumper or something. Don't know, hard to say. There's a little speaker on top. And then on the other side here on this PCB, there's 3 PCBs in the monitor. There's the power board there, and then there's this one that's got adjustments on it, and then there's a little one at the front for the controls. Now there are a lot of surface mounted trim pots on there, and they are labelled and they do have screen controlling properties to them. And I'm going to have to make a little adjustment that I'll talk about in a moment. So that's the inside of the monitor. Now we'll turn it on and have a bit more of a look. Now I have several of these Ikegami monitors, same model, and I've noticed with all of them that the picture is pushed to the right a little bit. So I think that's how they come from factory. Maybe the previous owner had adjusted them that way, who knows. You might be able to see it. The bezel might camouflage in with the black border on the side, but definitely pushed to the side a bit. And the monitor's got the wobbles a bit as well, a bit of zigzaggy, wobbly on whites, in particular when there's a lot of white. Anyhow, I'll see if I can shift the picture across. Well, I centered the picture. It's pretty close. It's better. There's a H-phase trim pot that does the job. I really need to expand the horizontal width now, but I don't know which trim pot does that, and I can't find a service manual, so I'm just going to have to ignore it for the moment. And as I said before, there's a bit of wobbling on the whites, possibly a cap issue. Again, all three monitors are doing it to some degree, so that's probably the best bet. Now we're going to see how compatible this monitor is with various things, various signal types. I'm going to put point blank back on. With a gun con, I can calibrate the gun in hand. There we go. Skip that bit. No, I don't want to load game data. Go for arcade. Start. So the gun's working 100%. Oh, you got to protect the guy on the rope. The horizontal width of this game is actually narrower than some of other PlayStation 1 games. Again, it needs to be stretched out. But you can see the gun's working 100%. So guns work, there's no doubt about that. This game is the NTSC version, running via RGB. Let's try a PAL game quickly. Wipeout on PlayStation's running, it's the PAL version of the game, and that appears on the screen no problem, so PAL RGB is working fine. Again, the PAL version of Wipeout is running, this time via S-Video, so S-Video PAL is compatible with the monitor. Change of console, PlayStation 2, now running this Fantasy Zone Complete Collection, and this is in S-Video, and the game is the NTSC version, that's the only one that there is for the PS2, and it's working fine. So S-Video NTSC, no problems. I've got the Dreamcast on with Garo Mark of the Wolves. This is running NTSC S-Video, so that works. Lastly, this is the PlayStation 1 running composite video, outputting a PAL signal on the boot up screen, so of course this works as well. Now I will test PlayStation 2 with component video into the monitor. The PlayStation 2 is hooked up via component. You really need to change your option in here in your PlayStation 2's menu to component. If you go have it in RGB, it's quite messed up. So you must have it switched over to component. And if you want correct colours, you must have the switch on the back that I showed you earlier selected for component, otherwise you'll get green like that. So that's working. Let's tax this component input of the monitor some more. So Sega Ages Wonder Boy collection's on. The display mode's in 480i, 512 by 448. So it's an interlaced resolution, and that works. Looking quite good, I must say too. Change to a different 480i. That appears to work. Yes, much narrower, but it works. And we'll try something a little bit more testing, 240p over the component line. Yep, that works. No jittery interlace looking signal there. And then we'll try 480p, which I doubt will work. Let's see what happens. No, doesn't work. You get the split image. Common sign that 480p and above doesn't work. So we'll go back to 240p. Alright. And one more test. Got the PlayStation 1 running back again with the 240p test suite with the grid lines up. Looking pretty square, looking pretty good. I was impressed when I first saw this monitor a year or two ago. It's, as I said, high resolution, 450 lines, so it is very sharp, and it's got a good amount of brightness. It's very punchy, and I like that. Although I do have to have the contrast up fairly high, it still doesn't bleed. It still looks good and proper. So as far as image is concerned, it's a very good monitor. It looks very nice indeed. High resolution and small tube combines together to give it a very sharp look. Reliability may be a problem. 3 of these monitors here now that all exhibit the same problems, but it's a bit of a lottery when you're buying old stuff like this anyway. But as it is, I am quite impressed by the Ikegami. They're not common around these parts, nowhere near as common as the Sony monitors of the same size or even bigger, but I do like the brand. I think they've done a fairly good job with this monitor, so it's nice to see an alternative. Anyhow, thank you for watching and stick around. I haven't put up many videos lately, but I will return to a more regular basis. Thank you. Bye.